What does it take to navigate change, to recognize industry barriers and push through them, unifying teams and technologies across the entire construction lifecycle? What does it take to have every stakeholder on the same page, whether or not they're ever in the same place, with the right data at the right time to drive the right decisions? It takes the power to deliver, to boost productivity, improve quality, to champion sustainability, connecting the people, the processes, and the data through every phase of a project. It takes absolute confidence from Trimble Connected Construction to embrace change and drive digital transformation, to root out inefficiencies and exploit opportunities, accelerating the pace of your success, no matter what the future holds. Trimble Connected Construction. Deliver with confidence. What does it take to navigate change, to recognize industry barriers and push through them, unifying teams and technologies across the entire construction lifecycle? What does it take to have every stakeholder on the same page, whether or not they're ever in the same place, with the right data at the right time to drive the right decisions? It takes the power to deliver, to boost productivity, improve quality, to champion sustainability, connecting the people, the processes, and the data through every phase of a project. It takes absolute confidence from Trimble Connected Construction to embrace change and drive digital transformation, to root out inefficiencies and exploit opportunities, accelerating the pace of your success, no matter what the future holds. Trimble Connected Construction. Deliver with confidence.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Building Point's Q&A with everyone obviously on this call with Trimble Connect. With me, I've obviously got, as you can see on your screen, Chris Rudenberg from Trident Detailing, Tim Fox from DBM Virkon, Paul Henderson from 3D Engineering Global, and John Legger-Wilkinson from Arup. Thanks again, guys, for obviously taking your time out of your busy days and different hours and different time zones. It's obviously trying to get a hold of everyone and get everyone in the right one spot at the right time is a tricky one. But at the same time, we've done it somehow. How's obviously Paul? I think you're in Dubai. That's correct.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, good morning. It's only 6 o'clock over here, so a nice early start for me today.
Yeah, nice. Thank you for that. And Chris, SA, I believe.
Yep. Yeah.
And
for the day, lunchtime, eating into my lunch break. Yep.
Thank you for that. And Tim's in WA, looks after the technical side over there for DBM.
G'day, everyone. Thanks for having us on, Jason.
You're welcome, mate. And John, last but not least, in Melbourne. Hopefully the weather's not too bad down there and doesn't change too drastically in the next 30 minutes.
It could be warmer, Jason. It could be warmer. That would be nice.
Yeah, nice. Awesome.
Thanks for having us on.
No, you're more than welcome. So I suppose the big thing for us starting off obviously today is how you guys got introduced to Trimble Connect. This is a good session just for people that are either using Trimble Connect and as we've had discussions earlier today as well, like the actual fundamentals around Trimble Connect and how you guys are using it is drastically different between all four of you. And every conversation, like Building Point have recently put on an onboarding team, and every conversation that we have and those listening and those watching, if you have actually received those phone calls, you'll most likely know Amos. He looks after our onboarding team for Trimble Connect, and he's been frantically busy over the last few months and just giving everyone a call and just judging basically what the sort of input is of Trimble Connect and why people are and aren't using it. I suppose the biggest thing for us is trying to raise awareness, and we're trying to basically move on from BIMsite, as everyone maybe on this call would know. BIMsite was a predecessor for Trimble Connect, and now Trimble Connect is the cloud-based platform for that. So I might just pass it over to Chris. So how did you guys at Trident, how did you guys start with Trimble Connect?
Well, we've been using Trimble Connect at my previous workplace pretty much since it first came out. I think you were the one who introduced it to us with some demos. It's probably when I first met you. The same story. Yeah, heard that they were discontinuing BIMsite and they were no longer going to support it, so it was time to move on. And the whole idea about it being cloud-based, the whole office already used BIMsite, you know, passing BIMsite models and reference models and all that backwards and forwards all the time. So it was just a logical thing to start using. It ticked all those boxes that BIMsite wasn't doing. So yeah, probably when it first came out. Yeah, when you set up your online demos, that's when we've been using it since then.
Yeah,
That's
perfect.
a few years ago now. So it's amazing to see people still using BIMsite and not knowing what Trimble Connect is.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's probably one of the key factors of the Trimble Connect business is it all started off with trying to transition people away from BIMsite and start to sort of embrace that cloud-based sort of mentality. And I think we're doing quite a good job globally. I think we're over last numbers I saw was over 17 million users globally, which is fantastic. And we've got 4 of them on this call, so that's, geez, the odds there are pretty good, aren't they? How about yourself, Tim? Obviously, DBM Vercon are huge on the Tekla front as well as many other software packages. Trimble Connect primarily something that you guys are looking into at this stage?
Yeah, so we are using Trimble Connect for a few tasks. I was saying to the guys earlier on, and sort of agreeing with them as well, that there is a bit of a sort of sentiment where there is a tool that suits a purpose, and it depends on if it's your client who's driving that requirement or internal. So we are using Trimble Connect internally as well to a degree. There are challenging software out there as well, but I'll talk about that later on. Some of the businesses that form DBMV, or that were sort of legacy companies in DBMV, were used to using Tekla BIMsite, as you had mentioned, Chris, earlier on. But I think the most significant sort of kick that we had to use Trimble Connect was on Hong Kong's third runway concourse. And in that case, the airport authority at Hong Kong basically mandated the use of Trimble Connect, and it wasn't just for structural detailing or for design interface. It was basically across the whole project. So this was only one project on the Hong Kong airport upgrade. And it did really give us a bit of a good way of being able to share information readily, and it was across a whole lot of stakeholders. So it was a bit of a deep dive for us. We didn't have the choice to say no, so we had to sort of get into it and use it. And I think it was a good learning curve for us, so we could see where we could use it moving forward, and what it was good for. So
yeah, nice. Awesome. We might touch on that project a little bit later as well. Something that obviously I hold dearly close to me. It's sort of helping you guys out with the Trimble Connect side of things, and there was a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes from the Trimble side as well that was helping us sort of help you. So it would be great to sort of share that with everyone as well. Paul, how's obviously 3D Engineering Global detailing office in multiple countries? How's Trimble Connect, or how did you guys get across with Trimble Connect? Is it something that you guys picked up off the bat? We're using something else?
Yeah, so obviously we used BIMsite before, and then when Trimble Connect came out and we saw that it's cloud-based, with the offices in different locations, it works well that we can upload models in one place and have our checkers in another place look at those models. So that's how we started using it. And then recently we did a large project with a 3D workflow from design through to construction on site. So we were looking for something for sharing our models, because not everybody has Tekla. Obviously, we use Tekla model sharing, and so we have that cloud-based capability, or for all of our modelers and 2D editors and some clients. But obviously, we use Trimble Connect for those that don't have that. And obviously we sort of tested it a lot with putting large point clouds into it, and what we had to do that. And so yeah, that's what we primarily use. And I just had a look before that project that we recently did. We've got 50 users actually that have that model shared to them. And looking at the usage, all but about 8 of those are actually using that model. So it's pretty good to see that many people are using it, and that's the client. It's various surveyors, people on site. And again, they're using it. They're using a lot of the tools, dimensioning, all that sort of things. I get a lot of queries on how to do things, but it's good because it shows that people are using it. So yeah, that's how we're using it.
Yeah, thanks for that, Paul. And John, Arup in Melbourne, it's something I think there was quite a few projects down that way that we were sort of discussing earlier on. And what's the situation with you guys at the moment?
Yeah, well, I guess if we come back to we are using it. We're using it quite heavily around the region, Jason, and globally as well. I guess we like the others, we fell into Trimble Connect mainly because we were using BIMsite. I've been using BIMsite, getting BIMsite models from fabricators and shop detailers for probably more than 10 years now. I can't remember when we got the first one. So it was a natural fit for us to start using Trimble Connect. BIMsite was used extensively on Perth Stadium, was really successful for us, getting the engineers in to the model and making comments and flicking that back to the technicians. So it was kind of a natural fit. Like I said, we're using it in a lot of the offices around the region here and around the world. So for all the reasons, I can go into it later, but it's a great collaboration tool, essentially. It's about communicating and collaborating with all the other parties internally and externally. So that's where we use it extensively.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's something that the mantra of what we push here at Building Point. Any Trimble Connect presentation that we do, and any sort of cloud-based collaboration, even if it's model sharing, for instance, if not everyone's collaborating in it, it makes it bloody hard. You get some people emailing you RFIs, and you get some people marking to-dos in Trimble Connect. It'd be fantastic, obviously, just to go, hey, this is what we're doing. We just want to do this way. And that's, I suppose, the battle that we all have, trying to sort of convince everyone, especially when, I think we were discussing earlier, John, that you were working with clients that were actually inviting more and more trades onto the actual project. So it was obviously starting to become a lot more prevalent when it comes to that.
Yeah, so the 2 sites I'm working on it with at the moment, they love it. They keep inviting more and more people in it, and it's not necessarily steel detailers or rebar fixers. It's the other tradespeople and stuff like that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. And just a reminder to everyone watching as well that YouTube does have a comment section, questions as well. So feel free to type in those questions, and we'll try and answer those as best as possible, whether it's myself or our 4 guests here as well. These will pop up on our second screen, so I might be a little bit delayed, but we'll definitely get to that at some point. So we've probably touched on a little bit of how you use Trimble Connect, as well as obviously how did you get involved with it. What's everyone's feel? So that obviously Trimble Connect is that cloud-based collaboration platform with model management, all that. Are you guys seeing it more and more prevalent when it comes to the other trades as well? Because Trimble Connect actually has a lot more functionality when it even comes to tying in hardware, 3D scanning, obviously, as Paul, you mentioned just before. Also your set out. So all the surveyors, if they've got Trimble Access, they've actually got licenses of Trimble Connect. So it's as simple as inviting them into projects. Have you guys came across any projects where you've got other disciplines and other technologies basically jumping on the Trimble Connect bandwagon, I should say?
I can maybe just add one thing. We've on the recent job we did in the Pilbara. One thing that came up was one of the guys he's using, or he'd like to be using Trimble Connect for use with Liebherr crane planner. So that's something that I've never even heard of before that project. So and then we've got surveyors that are also using it, and and then we get queries about positioning and things like that. So yeah, they're sort of 2 trades that you wouldn't have normally thought you'd be having the model that you're sharing. So yeah.
I know what you're saying, Jason. Like everyone's looking at the X7 and whatnot for point cloud scanning, the Trimble product, and how you can send it to the cloud on Trimble Connect and get your scan back and all that sort of stuff. That looks really good. We've demoed that with you guys in the past. If I had a machine, I probably would, but at the moment I haven't dealt with any surveyors who have actually pushed back anything through Trimble Connect yet. I know the functionality's there, but no, I haven't dealt with that. There's too many everyone's using a different machine or something like that at this stage. I haven't found anyone who really has gone down the Trimble route just yet.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. Everyone's sort of entrenched in certain ways of doing things. It's a very difficult one. When you do get a hold of someone, it's sort of they may have it, but they just might not even know, or they might not even be aware that they can actually do something this way. I think John, you guys have a scanner in Melbourne, I believe, an X7 from memory.
Yeah, we've got scanners. I think we've got scanners all around the country, Jason. So we pretty much, scanning. It's amazing how the scanning has changed in recent years, where it was kind of, it's fast becoming the norm. There's not a project now that's not got scanned. Either our teams are scanning it, or the site teams are scanning it and bringing it into our models. From I guess on a project that I am working on, we're sharing the models with the contractor. That so the main contractor asked us to load in the shop detailers model on the design models, and then also the site survey information on the same model, so that they can review it themselves from a site and construction point of view. So it's not just about us reviewing the shop detailers model. They want to have that ability to make those comparisons themselves. We did talk about bringing in the cloud-based survey so that they can compare as-built versus the design. But they didn't. I guess that was a step too far for them. It's about this. The industry's changing, and it's raising that awareness, and then making them aware that they can use these tools in a different way. And I think the industry's still going through that. That's what I see.
Yeah, okay. And Tim, I suppose a bit more of like that Hong Kong airport project was 3D scanning and sort of obviously using Trimble Connect. Did anyone else on that project utilize the whole Connect platform and try and sort of collaborate with that in the other disciplines and even the guys out on site as well?
Look, we were quite far ahead on that particular project, ahead of the sort of supply chain or the delivery process, I guess, because we were tied in directly with design. So there potentially was downstream, but we're sort of off that project at the moment. So what I mean by that is we were handing our model over for fabrication. That was our sort of deliverable at the end of it, without shop drawings as such. I think that anecdotally, what I see from the perspective of other stakeholders getting involved is it really comes down to who's showcasing the model. So if the model forms the central point for project description or identifying, status of project or whatever it might be, then you get other stakeholders automatically wanting to tie into that platform because it's what everyone's talking about, and it's where that progress information or status or information based data, things like weights of parts or whatever it might be, is available. If you don't have that drive to push that product as being the sort of central place that people are talking about, you get people going off in their own direction. It might be Navisworks, for example, or whatever other platform is out there. So yes, we do see other people picking up the use of Trimble Connect, but it's more sort of anecdotally than, we're not driving it. We're not sort of pushing the use of Trimble Connect. It's more like we showcase it to people and let them pick it up.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, can I pick up on that point? I think that's a good
Yeah,
point.
definitely.
So obviously Arup are in a, compared to Chris and Tim and Paul, we're in the design space. So we're using Tekla more and more on our projects. We're doing stillware connections, 3D rebar. So internally, we're using it to review our models and to de-risk the project. Essentially, that's why we're doing these things, is to de-risk and reduce the RFIs that we're getting through on our projects, and to improve communication with the fabricators and the construction teams. But we're also then reviewing against the MEP models and the architects models. So we'll be coordinating with them. So getting them into the Trimble Connect file. And then we'll be engaging with the supply chain, which with the rebar detailer or with the shop detailer or with the construction team. So we're kind of we're playing with all those different partners, and we're finding that they're engaging quite well with the Trimble Connect file from that perspective. So it's like Tim said, it's kind of like, what's your purpose and who are you working with, and what do you want to share with them, that information?
Yeah, definitely. It was on another screen. Yeah, definitely. That's something that we're definitely well adverse of. There's something that we're obviously trying to push constantly is we're trying to open ourselves up to different markets, and building point in the near future, we're actually, as probably you guys know and a lot of the Tekla clients know, that we're going for a segment-based approach. So Tom Malloy and myself are at the moment looking after engineering, construction, and steel independently. And basically what we're trying to approach with this is that the hardware guys that talk to the MEP guys, that we actually are involved in those conversations when it comes to the construction phase, because those hardware guys that are doing the set out, they're most likely using the 3D models from you guys that are doing the detailing and trying to detail and coordinate around you guys as well. So if they're all using the same Trimble Connect model that they're all receiving anyway, A, they're always using the latest and greatest, and B, they're always getting the information that comes straight from you guys as well. That's the biggest kicker as well. Just got a couple of questions briefly. We will jump to the next couple of things, but how to convey the markups and comments in the reviewer to the reviewer in Trimble Connect. So are you guys using, that probably links us up to our next question, is are you guys using the RFI management system or any sort of markups to substitute that email? Or the best probably question for this is it changing the way you guys are working? Is it changing the way that you guys now convey information back to consultants and back to construction companies and so forth?
I'd say there, to a degree, yes. So we have applications that we use internally that tie into our Tekla models and into other software that we store. We store that information from a database perspective or in a database. But what we have managed to do is tie some of our review front end software onto Trimble Connect. So the main idea behind that is that you don't necessarily need a Tekla license. So the legacy of this is that the review software would have to sit on top of Tekla. Complications there are that you might need to share licenses. You might need to borrow licenses out for your client to be able to use it. It's a complex tool to get people to use and teach them to use if they're not familiar with it. So Trimble Connect is a lot easier from that perspective to just pick up and use. Saying that though, that wouldn't be for the run-of-the-mill business because you wouldn't really want to be putting that much development into it. Saying that though, again going back to Hong Kong Airport, one of the main reasons that our client insisted the use of Trimble Connect was for the purpose of to-dos. And to-dos being a method to manage RFIs. I think the system from a proper or pure RFI perspective is a bit immature. But I think that if you want to be able to send information out, get responses, receive it back, and have it in a semi-live instance of what that model looks like, I think it certainly did the job on Hong Kong Airport for the portion we were working on. And I think it's going to become more mature as well, that to-do system. But But I think the answer is yes. It does. It does change the way we work, being able to save Tekla licenses. But it does tie in with our sort of existing software as well.
Yeah, that's it.
I
And
think
Chris,
from an RFI perspective, it's changed the way we approach most of our jobs in the fact that we can go to any meeting anywhere with a device, doesn't matter what it is, and drive that meeting from Trimble Connect. Instead of sending 10, 20 RFIs individually, we can just spear a 1 hour meeting, flick through the model and do it from that perspective. We've had a lot of pushback using to-dos from that front because maybe it's just Australia and not the other parts of the world this is developed for, but nobody's interested in anything unless you can document it in the end goal. And
I'd agree with that.
We all use Aconex, we all use Procore, we all use all those online systems for our communication. And at the end of the day, that's where the client wants his paper trail. And if we can't do that out of a to-do, which is a fantastic, I love it. I've tried it on a few jobs and the engineer might get on board, but at the end of the day, we have to somehow then get that into a report and into that other system. Like, we'd probably touch on it later, but it needs to be able to print a report from it straight away. You finished your to-do, you've closed it. It's a closed RFI. That would change the whole use of to-dos, I reckon, in Australia, because people would then want to jump on board with using Trimble Connect to do to-dos, because they otherwise go, what do I get out of this? Nothing. Oh, okay, so somebody's going to need to do the paper trail afterwards, and it just gets pushed to the side. But from a meetings and from an RFI, it definitely changed everything the way we do it, because it's streamlined a lot, and I don't need to worry about going to a meeting with a borrowed license of Tekla with a ridiculous laptop. I can just rock up. If I had an iPad, I could run it off my iPad. I've got guys who I deal with who've run it off their phones. So from that side of that, it's been really good.
Yeah, I'd agree with Chris on that. That's the greatest value that we're getting out of it, is those virtual reviews and meetings that you have with whether it's the other designers or also the construction team. Internally, we use the comments and checking and whatever, but I'm not aware of a project where it's used for RFIs, Jason. But I think a lot of the time that as Tim mentioned, it's dictated by other parties. Essentially, that's what it falls into. But it's great for collaboration. Like, essentially, I quite often say to people, like, you think you're in the design business or the calculation business, but you're not really. We're in the communication business. Everyone in this call is about, we got to communicate better with each other to get a great result. And these tools just allow us to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree with you there, John. It's 100% the right thing. And if everyone's basically, we can obviously all communicate better. So that's the whole thing about collaboration, isn't it? How about yourself, Paul? Are you guys utilising the to-dos or any other system for that?
We're using it to supplement the RFIs. We're not replacing those, but as you say, communication is everything, and you want your clients to see where you're at with projects. So you can upload the model to that. They can see exactly where you're at. We then use things like TeamViewer or Google Meet with clients so that we can have them drive the model, and we can have our team talk to them about various queries they might have live. So we're doing that, and then they formally then answer the RFI. But it definitely streamlines that process, and you're not waiting days for RFIs to come back. You're able to send the RFI and then sort it out quickly. So that's how we're using it. Yeah,
awesome. And it probably keeps people accountable as well, doesn't it? It's that whole keeping people accountable. And as Chris, you mentioned before, it's like having the ability to report that would be fantastic in a way that it suits our industries over here. Obviously, Trimble Connect is it's global, so localizing that can be quite difficult. I think we even mentioned earlier that over here in Oz and New Zealand, obviously, we're all still driven off the 2D drawings. Documentation is obviously, that's the key and that's the deliverable. It's not models at this stage. So I suppose having the ability to document those RFIs and export those RFIs, and then even being able to export those and do it properly into other software packages would be a massive advantage and a massive sort of step forward in the way that you can actually utilize this in a project sense.
Yep, 100%. The only way we use to-dos actively here is internally, communicating internally. I'll jump on at home, I'll quickly review a portion of the model that one of the guys has done during the day. I'll put my 10 comments on under a to-do, and then I know they fix them. That's it, because I don't need to formalize that to anyone later. That's just, I know that was just a progress, and it's just a bit of an update communication between people who are working from home or doing anything like that. But yeah, getting it into a report, like I know other programs who have this same feature do that, and they get it into it's just a pretty report of what the to-do has summarized. And at the end of the day, people who are using all those other systems like Aconex and whatever, they don't care what's attached to it. From a standard point of view, as long as it's a report with the outcome, that's it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a it's one of those must-haves, isn't it? It's not a nice to have, it's a must-have. So we've got a few questions in there, and obviously to those guys that are watching as well and commenting and asking these questions, keep them flying through. We'll try and get to those at the end as much as possible, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. I think Tim's in there at the moment answering a couple of his as well. I might skip a little bit further ahead, and what's obviously, since we were talking about the RFIs and trying to get those transmittals and all that sort of stuff organised, what's the biggest thing? Like, what's one thing that you would like Trimble Connect to have that it doesn't have at the moment? This can be a nice to have, a must have. It could be anything like that. I think, Paul, do you want to start us off with that?
Yeah, well, I actually reached out to a few clients and people about what they would like, and I got a really long list, which we've actually documented, and we're sending that through to Tekla support. So that's good to have that there, that where we know that we can put these ideas forward. But for me, I'm really into VR and using that, and we're using software like Iris VR to collaborate and have multiple people in models. They can be in our India office, Perth office, other offices. And obviously Trimble Connect with the web version has got VR, but it's a bit clunky. There's no way to document things that need to be done in the model and things like that. So I would like a bit better VR capabilities, because again, we're doing that in a cloud-based way with other software. So why not bring all that together? So that would be my area. I think there's a lot of area for improvement there.
Yeah, awesome. On that topic as well, recently Trimble released the Connect AR application. So it's basically, it sits on your phone, works on your iPads, on your phones and everything like that. It is another license, but the AR side of things, it's not VR obviously, but it means that you can actually use your devices, as Chris, you were mentioning earlier, being able to just take an iPad or something out to a meeting. You can actually bring that out there as well, and it uses a very similar sort of methodology to the XR10. So it uses the QR code based placement as well as manual placement. Think of a hybrid between the XR10 and the Sight Vision units. That's probably where that sits at the moment anyway. Might jump across to Chris. Chris, what do you reckon? What would you like in there?
So the biggest thing we're seeing at the moment, like we touched on before, was point clouds. 75% of our jobs have a point cloud in them. I don't want to have to go to another platform to upload it and to send it to the client. Trimble Connect can load them, but I can't upload them. So I don't understand why we can't put that in there, so we don't have to go to some other like Cinto or something to bridge all our point clouds together. We've got them, we use them. At the moment, I currently, OneDrive link people to the point clouds, the E57 cleaned up version, and then have to guide them through inserting it and stuff like that. You should just be able to go into Trimble Connect and turn on point clouds. And if it's been loaded into the file system like every other reference model or supporting doc, it should load. And in the same breath, I need to be able to move it, because a lot of these jobs as well, we can do it in Tekla. We've got our base point system in Tekla that, a lot of the time these point clouds come in after the fact. You've already set up your 0 points, you've done whatever, and then you create a new base point to bring your reference model in from the point cloud. but I can't do that in Trimble Connect. So when I want to bring the two together, I'm moving models all over the place again. It's just a bit of a disaster. So we need to be able to move the point clouds as well. So I need to be able to upload them and move them. And then it's an even more complete system for those guys who are already getting all their reference models and everything else that they're getting now, their IFCs, their DWGs, their step files, whatever, they're all coming in. It's the point cloud is, for me, is the missing link.
Yeah, so like, are you thinking something online streaming based?
No, just the ability. I'm doing it already in terms of I'm running the model effectively, right? I'm pushing all of these reference models up and I'm in control of it. I can push my point cloud out. I've got it. I'm using it in Tekla. I can push it up just like every other reference model in my linked Tekla, do that. And then, I mean, I understand the file size limitations behind some things, but you can get most point clouds down to usable.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. It's good to know. It's good to know. We'll definitely look into that. I'll pass it back on to the Trimble guys in the US. We'll go clockwise. Tim, what's something you'd like in there? I know that you guys are utilising the API side of things on that, and I think that answers one of Oscar's questions. But what would you like to see?
So I'm not going to limit myself to one thing. I've got a huge list, but
Geez, here we go.
I'll pick the top three. So
sounds good.
I think by priority, probably improving the to-do functionality and the sort of way to-dos work. I think John, you mentioned it, but being able to tie into an RFI template, or it might have been Chris. So in other words, to be able to adopt what the client or somebody else wants to see and be able to translate information from to-dos directly into that template. So you're keeping record in the model, but you have a direct communication with the client through your own RFI system or a client RFI system. So I think that's probably the key one. I think, Jason, we have spoken in the past and probably right back to the start of this airport job that we were doing about the searchability within to-dos and being able to export information out of to-dos. So I think that to-dos as a single unit that needs to be sort of upgraded or enhanced is probably the first key one. And then I'll sort of digress, but at the moment we've got a web-based and a desktop-based version of Trimble Connect. It'd be good to see it on one platform. And it's really because it causes confusion. So I think I'd want it to be on the web, obviously. I think it's got huge power, but just to remove one or the other, but basically remove the desktop version, would be my choice, so that you don't have a choice. And then the last one is around API development. So we have developed a web app through Trimble Connect's API, and it's really just further simplified Trimble Connect to a degree, so we're just using it under the hood of our own application. However, one of the big downfalls there that would really be a good improvement if it could be is the communication of the Trimble Connect's development itself. So Trimble Connect Web, we don't really have oversight of exactly what that's going to impact. Appreciate it's very difficult to nominate what that impact's going to be, because obviously Trimble doesn't know how we're developing our API or how we're developing through the API for our own application. However, if we were to promote the use of our own application, which is using Trimble Connect, we can't have it break. So for that reason, we're a bit reluctant to hand it out to clients. We do, but with some sort of caveats, and it's out of our control. So I think those three things are probably key from a DBMV perspective.
Yeah, that's actually a major point. Even like speaking of that last point that you mentioned about the API development and trying to tie yourselves into that so you can hand it out to clients and then be able to utilize it. But let's just say that Hong Kong airport project, I've been working with you guys for the last three and a bit years. If you handed that out at the start and then you basically revisited it today, Trimble Connect's changed drastically just over the last 3 years. The capabilities that you've got now is just completely different. There's some limitations that have been sort of skipped over and fixed. So having different abilities to do different things, it's bound to happen. So I suppose it's a very interesting sort of topic to approach, because it's a development side of things, and it's something that obviously we're just going to have to work closely with one another and with Trimble, and trying to work out sort of best practice to go about it. The other element that we did have as well was because Tekla is one of the primary businesses of the Building Point Structures division. Now, if you've got Tekla development that you go, let's just say version 2018 to 2019 to 2020, if you build API or a custom component, for instance, you're going to have to sort of rebuild it as you keep going, because things have changed and so forth. And I think John's on well versed on that front with the Rhino and Grasshopper side of things, with the capabilities of that. And I just think there's just no way of knowing what's going to change and what's going to happen perfectly or exactly. That's the biggest thing for us, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
And pass down to yourself, John. I think you've had a chat to a few of the guys around Oz.
I did. I tried to get some feedback. I'm going to start with just a user one, which is pretty simple, but I'm currently working on bridge projects or infrastructure projects, and they're quite long. So having a scope box or something that can limit an area, because if we get a rogue IFC file that's got a random element somewhere in space, you kind of it restricts your usability a little bit. But probably a couple of ones. We use the visualization tool a lot to do, when we do a rebar modeling, we might do some visualization of the construction sequence, so we can communicate that with the site team or the rebar detailer. So making it easy to export those videos out that you can do through visualization through the visualizer would be great. And then obviously being in the design space, we do a lot of early work modeling, and again do some images or videos to share with people. The ability to have aerial images in there early when we're doing that sort of work be nice, or linking in the photogrammetry type models.
You're talking from the drone side of things.
The drone side of things, yeah, because we're doing a lot of our stuff is before they dig a hole or they've dug. It's early works, early planning essentially.
Yeah, it's
just from it. Again, it's about context and communication with other players in the market essentially, or in the design team, or with the stakeholders, the client, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Having something like that, being able to be imported and being able to sort of translate that information, it just brings all the players closer and closer together. The one element that I will add to that is that Stratus, Trimble Stratus is our basically it's similar to like a photogrammetry side of things. I'll let the drone guys explain a little bit further in detail, but it's a Trimble product, and it's essentially being able to rip that information out and into Trimble Connect should be something that should be quite seamless. I don't think it's there just yet, but it'd be great to be able to grab that aerial photographs and anything like that, and being able to collaborate in Trimble Connect with it, even from a early design phase, because that's probably what you guys are working with it at the moment. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we kind of do both, because like I was trying to say before, we're kind of we start at the beginning, but we also need to then deal with the construction and when it gets to site. So go through that chain. Talking about Trimble Stratus, on the Western Program Alliance, McConnell Dowell are using it and they love it. They've got their engineers on it all the time. They get a drone survey every week. They bring the models in. They bring the drones in. They can compare it against the design models. They can check their progress. They can take their levels. They can do all their quantities. They can cut sections. They love it. So if you can tie that in somehow with Trimble Connect, I think that'd be a very powerful offering.
Yeah, it's probably comes closer to what I was touching on earlier with the construction phase, and trying to get as many of that construction sort of processes and construction programs that Trimble have, and making sure that there's one continued workflow. Because I suppose the Trimble motto at the moment is the Connect and Scale 2025, and being able to connect everything. And Trimble Connect obviously is, as you guys know, sits in the middle of everything there is to do with the Trimble building software. Whether it's SketchUp, you get a license with SketchUp, you get a license with Tekla, you can utilize it with your hardware, you set out your XR10 mixed reality side of things, the whole lot. So there's probably no reason that can't happen as another next step on the horizontal construction phase. That's probably something that can be quite good.
I've got to admit, Jason, it's one of the reasons I've always liked the Trimble Tekla models, because it's always been construction focused, right? It's always been the end game. The focus has always been on the end game. It's not just about the design phase or the construction. It's about that whole end game.
Yeah, I suppose comes from the Tekla side of things, where it's a detailing software that is diving more and more into the construction phases of it, opposed to another software package that basically just sort of can hit the architecture side and sort of stay around that sort of conceptual and 3D modeling stage. It's sort of constructible modeling. That's probably the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to, I keep coming back to the why. Why do we design things? We design things so that they can get built.
Yeah, definitely.
That's our role as designers, is to get the information in the hands of the people, like the rest of the team on this call, so that they can do their stuff and then they can get their stuff built. That's essentially what we're about. Should be about.
Yeah, awesome. So what I suppose that now that we're on that sort of one good thing that we would want as well, like hit us with some negative stuff as well. Obviously, not everything's positive. We all know that. So it would be pretty arrogant to think that it's not. What don't you like? What don't you like about the whole Connect side of things? Is it the fact that if you're trying to collaborate with someone, they have to have a license? Is it the fact that they can't just jump into the model and collaborate with you on behalf of you? Is it, because that's one thing that for me, that's something that I would love to see, is something that you can actually go to and go, hey guys, here's the QR code, or here's the link to the model, and then be able to view the model and view all your files. But then only collaboration is for the paid users. I'm not too sure. It's been a few years since I've been on the project side. I'll go clockwise again. Chris, hit us with some negative stuff, mate, if you can think of any.
Yeah, to be honest, everything that I want to use it for, it does it really well. The licensing, I'm not entirely across the free user scenario, because obviously we get the proper paid version with our licensing, but then when you invite project engineers, design managers or whatever to it, they're coming from a completely free version and they have to do the sign up with Trimble. At what point do they get kicked off? Because at the moment, you used to have to hand out your own licenses to them to get them to use it. And now that that's gone, that's been fantastic. Now that they can just have a free license, but is there a limitation to how many they can use?
So Amos, I think, is on here as well. Basically, we found out. Yeah.
The guys I've been using it with, they haven't found that limit, but I'm sure we will get to the point if everyone starts using it that they're going to go, oh shit, now we got to buy it, and then that will be a problem. That'll be a problem for the guy I'm working with is the project engineer, and he's the one actually doing all the work between me and him, but he's not the one who can make the call that says, oh, we're going to go out as a company and buy all this software. That's the guy John from Marriott will know that, that's a whole nother process they'll have to go through to justify that, and by that time I'm on to 2 jobs later. So the free aspect of just guys to come on who can collaborate for that project, that's definitely I don't know where that ends, and if that does end, that's going to be a big negative, because it's going to limit us to being able to push this out into the industry. But it's certainly gotten better since we don't have to hand out licenses anymore. So that's been good. But in terms of negative, no, I don't really. Everyone who uses it loves it. Everyone I give it to loves it. Do they compare it against other stuff? Yes, but for what it does and what we want to use it for that collaboration and just communicating, I don't know any one particular area that I go, this is really rubbish, because I just don't use it. Like maybe like sequence, for example, that seems like a bit of a gimmick that nobody would probably use, but some stuff seems to be put in there as maybe like little cherries to see if anyone bites and really requests it. But if there could be more development in the other areas that are the key areas, then that'd be good. That's the only negative feedback I have.
Yeah, nice. So, like, I might answer that question while I'm there, actually, with the free licensing, and everyone on the call as well. It's something that has been investigated recently. We found that it's your 5 projects. So if you're a free user, let's say I've got my own personal free license. If I join every one of your projects, I can join 4 of your projects, and then I can join a 5th. But what I can actually do is after that, I won't be able to join the 6th project. It'll only be able to join 5. Also, each of you on a paid license will only be able to invite 5 free users as well. So if you have 6 people that on the contractor side that are free users, they would only be able to use, obviously, 5 of those guys. I think it's somewhat a soft cap. So you may be able to squeeze 1 or 2 in here and there, depending on how many others they've done on which side they're going on, basically. But at the same time, aim for the 5 and 5, and you'll be pretty safe. That's something that you can actually do right now. So even if they're a free user, they don't have to use your license, as Chris mentioned. But you can actually be a part of that project still.
So if they remove one of the projects, can they rejoin a new one?
No, it'll be capped.
That's
Yeah, it'll be.
When you've logged on to 5, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to come to that cap soon.
I'll expect a phone call.
Deal with the same project engineer every time, 3 jobs in a row, and then they'll be like, "Oh shit, can't join this." Yeah, we're out of licenses. Yeah, that's the negative feedback for you.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that we know we're familiar with here anyway. So we'll definitely try and seek out some more information on that. Cool, thank you, Chris. John, I think you were mentioning something just then.
I was just going to echo Chris's comment and also Tim's comment. Like I think having the full functionality in the web-based version would be ideal, so that they are the same. But I would advocate what Chris is saying about the we got a model, we've got a license, and we want to share that with people. We should be able to share that with as many people as we want for as long as we want, because that's what the project demands, and that's what we need. We need to get these tools in the hands of people. I'm finding there's a real appetite especially the infrastructure space. There's a real appetite for using these tools to, again, improve communication and collaboration between all the parties, and whether it's architects or MEP or services or the client. The more you can get that information in the hands of the model, the better we'll have the outcome for our projects and all of our work. So if you can streamline the licensing and the software issues so that we can get more people in there, you will find that more people will join in. We just got to grow it.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Tim mentioned, and I think Chris and Paul both know, like, everyone loves it. They use it, they get in there. So let's get more people in there. I think that's what I'd be advocating Trimble and Building Point to look at, is how can they get more users in there, not less.
Yeah, and it's the ease of use as well. That's the main thing, isn't it? Cool.
It's project delivery.
Yeah, 100% agree. While we got you, John, let's throw us some negative stuff, mate.
No, that was the negative stuff.
Well, that's easy then. Probably just to reiterate what you've said there, John, as well. It's that's something that we're heavily focused on at the moment, is the fact that the more and more people that use it, the more and more people that understand that everyone uses it, and the more and more people, I think there's even some questions coming through about some statements. I think Dave Smith is one of the ones. It's basically being able to push the right information out there. That's the key. And you need to get people to use it to be able to push that information out. So that's something that's quite prevalent and obviously known around the industry for many, many years.
Well, again, that's my experience with the site guys, is once they're introduced to it, they want it. And, we've got a project I mentioned before in our chat. We just kept getting, can you add this user? Can you add this user? Can you add this user? And they're not shop detailers. They're not rebar fixers. They're just other tradies that want to know, want to get a feel for what their work is for that day, essentially. that's what I get from the site time.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there. Paul, what do you reckon, mate? What's some negatives that you've come across?
Yeah, for us, it's actually the dimensioning tools in Trimble Connect. So obviously, a lot of our users are used to Tekla and what you can do in Tekla. So dimensioning, we'd like to see improvements in the way you can pick and dimension, and also even just navigation and viewing. So for example, if you've zoomed in on something and you want to add or remove something from the view, it sort of drags you back out to space, and then you've got to get back into where you were. So if it works like Tekla, and even things like flipping from a 3D to a plan, they're really simple things that Tekla already has. But if it had a little bit more of that, then it would be, we wouldn't get the odd person complaining, well, no, I don't want to use Trimble Connect. I need to use a viewer's license of Tekla. So, that would be the biggest one for us. Is dimensioning and just manipulating the model in that way.
Yeah, cool. Okay. We'll definitely we'll keep you in the loop with that, see if there's any improvements. I know that there was one thing that got released not too long ago. It was the CAD editor / viewer. I think David Lash from Trimble's sort of reached out and flicked that out to LinkedIn and gauged some interest. There's a couple of questions. Why do you have it? That's one of the things that came out of it. And I think being able to use something like that can be quite effective, and that might actually be their long-term goal as far as the actual dimensioning and everything, making it a lot more user-friendly and making it a lot more usable when it comes to people coming from AutoCAD or Revit or Tekla and so forth.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you. And Tim, let's close him out.
So I've already mentioned three things. I think my positive feedback ended up being negative feedback. So
That's
I'll
all right.
talk about the to-do, sort of advancing to-dos. The two platforms down to one, instead of web and desk, just one or the other. And then communicate what development is going to be through changes in API. I definitely second what you said there, Paul, about dimensioning tools. So yes, it does have dimensioning tools, but if you start dimensioning things like bolts, for example, it's just you've got to dimension off the geometry of a bolt as opposed to the center of a bolt, for example. So I think a bit of advancement in those tools would go a long way, definitely. One other thing that would be really, really powerful, the markup tools are very good, but if you could actually capture those markup tools, those markups in an equivalent, if you like, of a view or a sort of capture that you make of a view, so you can switch those markups on and off, but only to the view that you're actually relating those markups to. So at the moment, your markups are either on or off. If you could have them on, dependent on the view that you actually capture against it, I think that'd be super powerful. So because I've given so much negative, I think one thing that I'd say that stands out from a positive perspective is the ability to load huge data sets and huge amount of models into Trimble Connect. I think that's the single biggest positive that I'd have for Trimble Connect. I think we haven't really reached the point where we've broken it. I know that some people have, and I've heard of people sort of breaking Trimble Connect and getting it to a point where it's not usable. But we've had some massive projects and we haven't really seen it yet. On a bit of an aside, but something that we were mentioning earlier on about not license sharing, but we were talking about having to carve out licenses a couple of years ago. But what we do with our own web application is we share the public key for models. And what that seems to do is if you don't need people to do any markups in the model or place any to-dos or interact in any other way in Trimble Connect, if you share the public key for the model, anybody can access it without a license, and that's absolutely anybody. So anybody you share it with, they can hop on, and it's not dependent on being invited to a team as such within Trimble Connect. If, however, you need to share, the model to people who you want to be assigned to a team, within that project's team, I think that's where you're going to run out of your sort of cap. And if people are invited to projects end on end for 5 projects, they're going to run out of the ability to be joined into projects. But I think the public share key is key, if you like. So you can just share models out to whoever you like.
Yeah, that's something that I think it's came up quite a fair bit, was the fact that you could grab that key. It's basically a URL that's free, and you can if you utilize it in the fact that you make a federated model. So you basically grab all your models and make it a trim BIM, which is your federated model, and get the key for that file. You can just throw that on your you can just throw that on your drawings in a QR code sense, and then everyone that scans it with their phone, it just pops up with the full federated model on their phone. And again, with the huge data set element and the multiple file types, it's unlimited as far as what your capabilities are when it comes to files and mass file sizes. As far as collaboration, I haven't seen anything sort of out there that has the same capability when it comes to collaborating with file types, DWGs, Revit files, Navisworks files, the whole lot. Bringing all those into the one model is just fantastic as far as I'm concerned. Coming from the background I've got, it's sort of, it's fantastic. But at the same time, being able to view those and view gigabytes of data at the same time from different software vendors is just a massive game changer when it comes to me.
Yeah, I love the idea with the QR code on drawings, because now we're all used to using QR codes, and everyone's got a smartphone.
Automatically scan it.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's something like, I think we used to do it for the AR side of things, and you used to just pop up a hologram on top of the drawing. But being able to do that and flick it straight to the live model that's automatically updated every time if you're using model sharing is just on its own. It can be fantastic. Awesome. Now, I'm conscious of the time. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly... Apologies to everyone that we can't get to. Sorry, I just realised I hadn't had the mic on. But what we'll do, I'll just quickly ask the field... just scrolling through now. I'll probably pick out 2 or 3 questions. If the main contractor, from David Smith, if the main contractor is using Aconex or Procore or anything like that, then TC really becomes something that they often won't want to know about, in my experience. Do you guys have projects there? I think, Chris, I can see you nodding a little bit there. It's sort of, is that something that you've came across in the past where it comes to basically, I think even John, you were mentioning earlier as well, it's what the contractor specifies at the start of the project, not what you guys actually want.
Yeah, to a degree. The Aconex might be the platform for correspondence, but their engineers and whoever else is just consultants on the project, they'll still want to use Trimble Connect. It's just the documentation trail along the way that they get pushback from when you're on an Aconex system. But and they'll still all ask for the model when it's review time. They'll still all ask for the an up-to-date model when they want to just try and figure out an RFI response. I don't get resistance from that side of things. It's purely from a to-do usability function. That's when I get it. Resistance on Aconex and Procore.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd echo that from Chris as well. You still use the Trimble Connect to resolve the issue or flag the issue, but you might just do a screen grab or whatever and throw it back in the correspondence. We quite often get queries from the site guys who I prefer it this way. Get the query early, and then we give them the answer early, and then they just follow it up with a paper trail. At the end of the day, you don't want stuff to be held in gates. That's what I find frustrating.
Yep. No, completely agree. All right. I think Clayton Riddle, friend of yours, John, down your way. So he's actually asked the question of to-dos and being able to export those as like BCF files and being able to rip those into other files as well. It's sort of, I'll probably answer that in the way that it's there, but it's just it's a little bit raw. Same way as a little bit of the to-do system is as well. you can actually bring those out and bring them in from other packages. So that is something that's on the cards now. As far as being able to make sure that everything goes across smoothly, it's just not. I don't believe it's there just yet from my experience. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Obviously, but yeah, it's something that I believe Trimble are working on. And as far as an open collaboration and BIM software package, open collaborative BIM software package. Sorry, it'd be fantastic if that was the case. Tim Long said Oz versus England 5 for 60. So that was a great little comment there. Thank you for that. Knowing that, we'll end this call right now, shall we? So Phil Shanks, where's Trimble Connect heading with the model connector in Tekla? There is metadata that we can get there when we inquire, but is it going to be smarter in the future? In answer to your question, Phil, yes, I believe it is. It's obviously started off quite raw, and it used to be called the Trimble Connector for those played with the Trimble Connect side of things earlier on. The element that we've got here now is the Trimble Connect or the Tekla export. Now, it just exports it straight away into Trimble Connect. You do have to adjust a bit of the metadata there to be able to adjust what goes out with it, but at the same time, it is there. It may be a lot smarter in the near future, but at this stage, it's like a object INP sort of setting that you have to change when it comes to the .tekla export. Have you guys dealt a little bit with the .tekla exports at the moment?
Yes, yeah, I'm using it, the TRBs and Tekla formats. Yep, from a size perspective, very handy.
Yeah, cool. What I will do is let's pretty much nearly finish it up there. But I've got one from Amos, which is our onboarding. Looks after our onboarding for Tekla and Trimble Connect. And let's leave it with some advice. What's some best practices or some advice you'd give to people that are just starting with Trimble Connect? What's one key thing that you would tell them to keep in mind, or if they're trying to start off with Trimble Connect? And we'll probably wrap it up after this question. I'll start off with who looks the most puzzled. Let's go for Chris, we'll start off with you and we'll go clockwise, eh?
Yeah,
sorry to put you on the spot there.
Good question. I don't know. It's just so second nature to click a button and do an export that I feel like you can go wrong with it. I guess for me, when you get started, the best way to be able to use the model is to be able to push as much data into that rather than just letting the IFC do its standard. Push all the attributes you really want to use Trimble for. So if you want to find your lots, your phases, your finishes, all that sort of useful UDAs out of Tekla, set up that first. So when you do your model exports, all that comes out of it. So then nobody's asking you the question, what is that? What's that member? Push as much usable data in there instead of all the standard IFC junk.
Yep, that makes sense. Tim?
Yeah, it is a bit of a difficult one. I think it does come down to use case. I definitely advocate, utilizing a software that does what you need rather than trying to adapt software that you have to do something it doesn't. And I think that Trimble Connect has its niche. So certainly from a price point perspective, it's quite valuable. It doesn't cost a lot. If you were to buy it, even outside of having Tekla licenses and so on. So I think it really comes down to that use case. I think if you can see the need for a review software, so it's about investigating what Trimble Connect does and doesn't do, and finding the use case for it. Like I said, we use various software, but we're using Trimble Connect as well. So there's a reason for that, and it's not all client driven. We're using it ourselves, so I do think it has a place.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for the advice there, Tim. Appreciate that. John?
Thought you were going to go to Paul first.
Sorry, mate.
I would echo what Tim said. It's about it serves a purpose. It's about getting that. I would advocate And again, coming from the design side, I'll just talk about my experience, but you need to, I don't like when people use the authoring tool to do coordination. Like you should be using a review tool like Trimble Connect to get the non-technical people in there to review, the architect's model, the structural model, the MEP model, whatever's in there. And I would say if you're a new user, I'd just get all the models into Trimble Connect and then just throw it out to the users and don't issue them a drawing or anything. And I'm just going to talk about the journey that we've been on in recent years in the infrastructure space. We were doing some 3D rebar modeling and we were dealing with a side issue. And, the engineers aren't used to looking at the models. They're just used to looking at paper. And one of the engineers I was working with came up to me and he said one morning, he said, I've been looking at your rebar model. And he nearly floored me. I fell over. It's kind of like, what? What'd you say? And he said, I've been looking at your model and, and how we're going to deal with this issue. And it's kind of like, I think you just got to get it in the hands of the people. I guess that's my comment is we need to get it out there more and more and get the people that aren't always looking at it starting to look in the model, because that's where this thing is not getting smaller. It's only going to get bigger in the industry, especially the site guys, the engineering, the design guys. We just got to get them looking at the models more and more. And Trimble Connect solves that, it sits in that space really well.
Yeah,
it's
excellent.
easy to use.
Yeah,
It's
perfect.
very light. You don't need to be a technical person. You don't need to be a technical user. You don't need to be a Revit user. You don't need, it's a great review tool from those people that aren't the creators of the content.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. And Paul, let's what's your last sort of words of wisdom, I suppose?
Yeah, well, I'll just add onto what John's saying there, which I agree with, is I think it needs to be made part of your workflow. So it's not just something extra that's there, but it's part of the workflow. So at the start of the job, the client's introduced to the tool, and this is how we do things. And then, as you say, it's shared with everybody. And then people use it. So when you get a request for somebody to say, oh, can you send me an IFC file? You can return, say you've already got it. It's in the Trimble Connect model, because how many times do you get your time wasted because people aren't familiar with it and they're asking for different things, export in this way, export in that way, give us a Navisworks. Whereas if you introduce them at the start that this is the tool that's been used, it's part of the workflow. You'll get these people coming and saying, we're looking at your model and we've seen this. And that's what you get out of sharing. It actually comes back to you in a way because people will see things along the journey that they can tell you about at the time, instead of waiting till the project's finished and suddenly realizing, hang on a minute, we've just worked out we can't stand this structure for whatever reason. So so I think my advice is make it part of the workflow, so then people have no choice but to use it, and then before you know it, it'll just be part of what they do.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thanks for that, Paul. Fully agree with you. It's something that I've sort of helped a couple of customers of ours try and implement it into their workflow. And the first thing you just grab their current workflow, grab the current workflow and just go, all right, where can we sort of wedge our way in? I know that sounds a little bit drastic, but at the same time, it's sort of, if you're trying to improve the system, you have to look for the flaws and you have to look for the elements in which you can improve easiest very quickly. And if you can address those little points, if you increase your productivity or increase your efficiency for collaboration by 10, 15, 20%, it's so much better than the way you were doing it. So much better than emailing anyway. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and if you look at the large job in the Pilbara I was talking about before, we got 50 users. Almost maybe only 2 or 3 of those asked to be added, but everyone else was added and explained that this is what you use. And as I say, all but 8 are using it. So, and now on the next project, I'm sure someone's going to say, oh, have you got Trimble Connect on this job? So that's an example where it was just made part of the workflow, and that's how people ended up using it. So
yeah,
before that job, they wouldn't have maybe been exposed to it. So yeah, I think that's how you get more users and get people familiar with it. And now those people all know how to drive it. So the next job will be even better.
Yeah, excellent. Great point. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, no problem.
So that's pretty much. I'll probably close it out here now. Everyone that's obviously made questions or got questions or anything like that, I'll try and address those offline as well. I know that we're all busy, and it's I don't know what time it is in Dubai, Paul, or Victoria. I know it's about 2:15. So really appreciate obviously all four of you, all your time. It's much appreciated from the building point side of things, as well as all the advice that you guys have given to everyone that's on this call. So anything obviously that the floor has any questions, keep flying them through. We'll try and get to those offline. But again, I just want to thank each individual one of you for your time today, and taking your time out of those busy schedules to be able to help the industry, I suppose, is the best way to put it. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. A pleasure.
Thanks for inviting us, Jason.
Yeah,
Excellent.
thank you.
Well, I'll finish it off with the constructible modeling video, and then I'll chat to each of you guys a little bit later. And thank you, everyone, and have an amazing day. And we'll probably run a little bit more of these Q&As a little bit more in the future on the Building Point YouTube page. Excellent. Thanks, guys.
No worries.
Thanks, everyone.
See you, Tim, Chris, John,
Thank you.
Jason.
See you guys.
Bye,
Nice
guys.
to meet you all.
Bye-bye.
It takes
Bye.
absolute confidence from Trimble Connected Construction to embrace change and drive digital transformation, to root out inefficiencies and exploit opportunities, accelerating the pace of your success, no matter what the future holds. Trimble Connected Construction. Deliver with confidence.